Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bluhdhaven podcast, episode number 68. As always, I'm your host, Balfour Wong. Today, I'm joined with
Buddy.
So it's been a fun week. So for our announcements to begin with, I just want to let everyone know that we have a new video out on the website that came out on Monday. It is Disney's Villainous. This is the first video in a series of episodes that we're going to be shooting. For those who don't know, Villainous is a card-based board game where you get to play as various Disney villains. The first episode is out right now. I got to play Hades. You played Captain Hook.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. So make sure to go check it out on the site. And other than that, I guess we can just jump right into the podcast. So today we're going to talk about some video game news, as well as some Mortal Kombat topics, since the movie will be coming out on Friday in the US. But Buddy, you wanted to talk about a couple of things before we started, so take it away.
All right. So before that, can you just move your glass a little bit closer to your coaster? Because it's like,
it's right on the edge.
Oh, please.
It's just going to get further and further and further. I can just leave it right there.
No. One little fucking... But I was looking through some stuff before I came over here, and now WoW is going to have their things where you're going to have filtered words. If it's sensitive wording,
really?
You won't be able to you won't be able to send messages to people. This is only specifically if you're messaging them on WoW.
That's interesting, because I know Blizzard has always had a filter. They've always had a filter for as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
But is this because of the announcement that Microsoft had with their new AI? Like, it's a new artificial intelligence that will mute specific words, like everywhere. Like if you're surfing the internet, like it'll immediately mute specific words. So do you think it's because it's like it's either a partnership, or they found what's the word I want? They found like a useful tool in that, or do you think this is like two very different things?
Maybe it could correlate. It could not be. The article didn't necessarily go into specifics with that. From what I've read, they're calling it reserved words, and as of right now, there's only one reserved word from somebody who figured it out, and it's a racial slur, obviously. But of course, that'll expand eventually. But if you send something along the lines to somebody in a message in WoW that has that reserved word, it won't send the message at all.
Interesting. Huh.
So it won't filter out the word from what it says. It'll just, your message just will not send. It'll just say, cannot send message because of reserved word.
That's interesting. I think I approve of that. Because I wish, I'm not sure if Twitch does it, but Twitch just blurs the word, right?
Usually, yes.
See, I wish that's something that Twitch would do. Because I can't tell you how many times that we've been in a stream and we've had like a random person,
oh my god,
like a rando come in and just use specific words, and it just,
or like, oh my god, this one always stuck to me. The one when you used to play SWAT a lot.
Oh god, yeah.
And when someone like made a username that just like was an insult to you, and I was just like, it was just fucking stupid. But you know,
I mean, that's kind of what happens. I mean, thankfully, I feel like now it's not as bad as it was when we first started.
Oh yeah,
because when we first started, the trolls were real.
Gee, oh yeah, especially when Twitch still had like, I mean, they still do, but it's like the request songs.
Oh and, yeah. Which kind of sucked, because you had those like ear destroying songs, which really sucked. Because like, for those who don't know, when Twitch was younger, like Justin TV. In like early days of Twitch, a lot of streamers used to like take song requests while they were playing. That way, there was a sense of community people were interested in. And during that time when song requests were really popular, there were fake videos or fake names of songs where, maybe for like the first 5 seconds you would feel like it's this song, but then it would like hard cut to overblown audio just screaming in your ear,
or just very, very, very racist lyrics.
Yes, very racist lyrics, which as a streamer kind of sucks, because when you are expecting a song to come on and everyone to enjoy, you're focused on the game, but then when it happens as a content creator, you're like, oh my god, I gotta delete this like immediately. Which was kind of the point on the trolls end, but I'm kind of happy that we've stepped away from that crap because it's so annoying. Like, I get that people troll because they're like, oh, this is funny to cause like an issue for a streamer or whatever. But as a content creator, it's just frustrating because the whole idea is for us to make fun content for the community, and then it's being trashed by this asshole with what the screen name would be like Long Justin 69. He's so creative.
Yeah. Now, if any other streamer uses that overlay, we'll call it, they have it not necessarily a paywall, but like you have to pay a certain amount of bits to even try to request a song, which is still nice. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's also a way for content creators to be safeguarded from that, from someone just randomly coming in and doing that. And honestly, like I would like to get back into that, like in terms of like trying to find some cool music and everything. But with this whole DMCA thing with Twitch, it's like that's something that I don't even want to touch right now. Yeah, until they figure it out.
There may be certain loopholes, or like there's a few where even if it's we'll say someone who's not necessarily big, we'll just say maybe us, but it's just as bad as that sounds, I mean, we're getting there. They would just have it really, really low in the background. Like you would hear more of the game than you would of the music and all that, but that's still treading a very thin line.
And what's interesting too is actually OBS started this a new setting where you can actually have split audio, which it doesn't change the broadcast, because for viewers, a lot of times when you are streaming a video game, you have a PC to stream. If you're listening to music on your computer, that music is also broadcasted to the stream. So for people who do that, they incorporated this layer of audio where instead of saving your video on demand with the music is saved separately from the other audio, which is cool, but it's more frustrating on a creative side, because instead of you saving your VODs immediately, you have to save your VOD internally, make sure your VOD isn't saved, and then upload the VOD. Which is a nice workaround for the DMCA stuff, but it's still very frustrating. I think for me personally, I think until the music industry figures its shit out, we're not going to use any audio from any person unless I have written consent from them directly. Like, because we work with two musicians right now, stationed out of North Carolina and Georgia, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's where we're getting all of our music from, because I have written consent from them. And right now we're trying to figure out the best way to kind of incorporate that with our D&D show and a couple other projects that I have in the works. So, but if you're a Twitch streamer, just be careful with the DMCA stuff,
read through the TOS. That's going to be your best friend for right now.
Yeah. Especially for those who are like trying to branch out on Twitch and YouTube and maybe Facebook. If you're an affiliate with Twitch, make sure you read the terms of service with them, because there's some important stuff in there that you should read. For instance, like for us, because of our productions, we cannot rebroadcast our show on any other platform for 24 hours. Like Twitch has a 24-hour clause for its affiliates and its partners. But for some other stuff that we're going to be doing in the future, we will be rebroadcasting it, because it won't be exclusively on Twitch. It will be on Twitch, but we're going to be doing something in the future in regards to Extra Life. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit, because last year, unfortunately, we were unable to put on a good show for everybody, because of COVID-19. But this year, we will be hosting Extra Life. So for those who don't know what Extra Life is, it is our yearly charitable 24-hour live stream. All the donations that we get from that live stream go directly to our local Children's Miracle Network hospital, which is Tucson Medical Center. We were fortunate 2 years ago to actually work with them directly, and right now we're currently in talks with them again for this year. So make sure to mark your guys' calendars down. It's going to be in November. There's going to be more information throughout the year as we get closer. One of the things that we're going to be doing this year is we're going to be hosting a 12-hour stream during the summer to entice people to sign up with our group. So the way that Extra Life works is we have created a team. It's called Bluhdhaven. And you as an individual can sign up to the site and join our team. And as a community, we're going to try to raise as much money as we can for TMC and try to help out as many people as we can, specifically children.
For the kids.
Yeah, for the kids. So it'll be fun. There's going to be a lot of physical challenges, a lot of different board games, video games, and the lot. So again, there's going to be more information about that closer to probably July. We'll give you guys the heads up about when we're going to be doing the 12-hour live stream. So there's a couple of things for that. But kind of circling back to this whole WoW, did you say reserved word?
Yeah,
thing?
they're calling it reserved words for like using stuff like racial slurs. There's only one for right now since someone tested it, but of course it's going to get expanded later on. But
that's crazy. When did they announce that?
Let me look at the article because I have it right here. It was announced. Where the hell is it? 7 hours ago.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
So it's a brand new feature, which,
yeah,
honestly, like, I think we've talked about it on the podcast. I'm not sure if we talked about it on the podcast or not before, but I'm actually a very big fan of censorship when necessary. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I've kind of talked a little bit with other people about how, you know, you don't want your kid to be exposed to, you know, harsh language, like overly harsh language. You know, I get a lot of people curse around their kids, and that's perfectly fine as long as they understand, you know, why someone's saying it and the context of what it is.
Yeah.
But you know, you're not gonna put a kid to go watch like an NC-17 film, right? Like, because of the imagery, the words that are being used.
See, I always, and I don't mean to like to go off on another tangent, but when was the last time anyone has ever seen an NC-17 film? Like,
that's a good question. I don't know,
because the highest I've ever seen, and I'm pretty sure anyone can agree, is rated R. NC-17 is just like, and they have it there in the MPAA rating systems. And in movie theaters, it's like they tell you which ones it is, and for NC-17, it just says higher a sitter. And when was the last time we've ever seen like an NC-17 film? Because that's kind of like borderline. It depends on who you talk to, but in most cases, NC-17 tends to lead to like softcore porn.
Yeah, I mean, it's typically like overly overt sexuality.
Yep.
Like, or like gruesome, like very gruesome murder scenes.
Yeah.
Hey, From Dusk Till Dawn was NC-17.
Really?
Yep. But it was edited down for the R-rated version.
That makes much more sense.
Yeah, it looks like there was a lot of NC-17s in the 90s.
In the 90s, but they probably either edited them or dropped them down to have the rated R. So you at least have them play in theaters.
Yeah, I think that's what the thing is, because I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure that in the 90s they stopped showing NC-17 movies and just moved it to like the rated R rating is what was allowed in theaters. Okay. Because there's a lot. Midsummer, the director's cut.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Is technically NC-17, but it was re-edited for an R-rated distribution.
Okay. I could see that. All right. That makes much more sense.
Which, honestly, it does make sense, because now that I think about it, The Breakfast Club, right?
Yeah.
The Breakfast Club is rated R.
Out of all fucking things, that's rated R. Wait, what?
Yeah. The Breakfast Club is rated R. So,
I mean, I believe you, but it's just.
And so the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I feel like the rating system has changed.
Oh yeah,
like drastically. So I feel like things that were made in the 90s, NC-17 back then would probably just be rated R or even PG-13 because there's a lot of different variations of it.
Yeah.
Because I think like even in PG-13 movies, you can have like one cuss word.
Yeah, I thought that was the greatest part. Like, here's a perfect example of it. X-Men First Class is a rated R film. I mean, rated PG-13 film. Excuse me. Wow, I'm already messing up.
Like, what?
Which means you can only allow certain curse words, but the only one word they can only allow ever once is fuck.
Yep.
So when they wanted to get Hugh Jackman in just for a small cameo for Wolverine, he goes, "I'm only going to do it if I can say this one word." And they looked at him and they said yes. So that one scene where they go talk to him, he just goes, "Go fuck yourself," and they leave. And that's the entirety of the film.
Oh, the cameo?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so interesting. So like going back to like the censorship thing, like I don't think censorship is inherently bad. I do think censorship is bad in terms of like we'll say First Amendment rights, right? Like someone censoring your verbiage and manipulating what you're saying, because they don't like it. Like, I think that is a horrible thing to do. But if you're creating content for a certain audience and your demographic is a certain, age group, then I think it's important to censor your work. For instance, like Disney films, right? Disney is a family-oriented company. So you're going to look at Disney films and, of course there are these hidden, underlined adult jokes throughout Disney films, but they're not like thrown into your face.
Yeah, they're creative.
Yeah, and it's done purposely that way the adult audience can enjoy the films, but that way the younger audience is not exposed to it. Because they're caring about are the characters and the funny looking, the music segments. And all that. Yeah, and I feel like as a child, if going into a Disney film, that's what you're expecting. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's really important. But, Disney also has their various other production companies where they do create adult-oriented films because that is their audience. So I think it is important as an artist to understand what your audience is and to censor yourself accordingly. I've talked to B about a project that I want to start doing, and that project in itself is going to be vastly different than what we're doing. And because of that, I'm not going to get too much into it, but I already understand the concept and the audience. Therefore, I'm going to be taking stuff away and being very particular about what is being put in this new set of work. Because for us, our audience ranges from, early 20s to like 45. I'm not sure if you know that, but our demographic is very much of the older audience.
I know that. That's funny.
So, yeah. So, which is why our content is adult oriented. We are pretty untamed in terms of vulgarity. But, not to the point where it's super uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, it's just, it's there.
Yeah. For instance, go check out Tucson by Night because that's some pretty dark stories going on there.
Oh my god, it's great though.
Yeah, but no, I don't find it bad, especially with the online community. I've been playing online games since Diablo 2. And I totally understand the uncomfortableness of dealing with a very toxic player online. Yeah, and it sucks because it is. For a time, I felt like it was a good time to like just jump into a random lobby and hang out with friends, like hang out with new people and build connections.
Yeah, don't do that in a COD lobby, please. Don't ever do that.
But I feel like, nowadays, a lot of people are like kind of awkward about it. And a lot of people feel a little discouraged because of like all these horror stories that everybody has. Like if you're a gamer, everyone has a horror story about a random lobby that they've been in. And that kind of turns a lot of people away from wanting to build better connections and with new people. So I totally understand why WoW wants to try to protect their player base. You know, there's so many people who are on the Blizzard platform. You know, people who are playing Overwatch, people who are playing Diablo 3, people who are playing StarCraft, people who are playing World of Warcraft. There's a lot of people, and there's a lot of individuals who want to hurt those people online. You know, I've been in so many Overwatch lobbies where just someone just goes off the rails, whether it's verbally or you know, in chat. And actually, going back to that Microsoft thing, I think it's verbal stuff that is that the AI captures. So like as soon as it registers, you know, the N-word, it'll just immediately block it. So it's just like it'll mute that person, which is really cool.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, no, so I totally get why Blizzard's doing it. You know, I don't think what they're doing is facetious. Like, I don't think this is going to be, you know, there's a lot of conspiracy theorists who are like, oh, they're going to censor everything that I say. I can't say anything that I want anymore. But that's not the point. And also, Blizzard is a private company, and you're using their services, so they can do whatever the fuck they want. like I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but you know, a private business is allowed to do what they want on their services. And if you're agreeing to those terms of services, then you have no right to really complain about. Kind of going back to the Twitch terms of service type of thing. Like, though that is a business, then you're agreeing with. And if they choose to change a function and you continue to agree with those terms of services, then you kind of have to deal with it. You know, like for our site, we have every right to kick a user off of our site if we determine that this person is unfit or is breaking our community guidelines. Then we have every right to say, hey, you know what, you're no longer allowed on the site. And that's just kind of the way that it works. Like, I know it sucks when you want to try to be part of a community, but you know, I think there is individual responsibility as well.
Yeah,
like you have to be aware that it's not just about you and it's not just about your needs. It's about the community as a whole. So that's why for me, I feel like that's actually a really smart move by Blizzard to implement a way to protect the player base.
Well, as of right now, it's just for WoW. So Blizzard can still let you do anything because Blizzard uses like a third-party messenger service or whatnot.
Okay.
So it's just, as of right now, it's just for if you send a message directly in World of Warcraft, it won't send it. But who knows? Maybe they'll get it implemented in their own messaging system. But as of right now, I guess WoW is like going to be their template.
Which is actually the perfect place to test it. Like, that is the perfect place to stress test a new system.
Okay, how long has WoW been around? Since
2004, I think. I played vanilla. I remember that. Let's see how many players are currently on WoW. 5 million players. Still 5 million active users.
God dang.
The player peak was at 612,000.
Jesus.
In a single day.
Damn.
That is one day. One day, 600,000 players were playing. But yeah, there are 5 million active users.
That's
which
crazy.
Is honestly a feat for a game that is so old.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. The initial release was November 23rd of 2004.
Okay.
So this game is so close to being 20 years old. That's wild. That is insane.
Yeah, that is very Jesus.
I don't even know how many expansions this game has had. So they had Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King,
Mist of Pandaria, or something about Pandaria. Whatever.
I think that came after. Well, hold on. It was Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria, Warlords. Hold on. Let me look this up.
Let's go consult the Oracle real quick.
There's a total of 8 expansions.
Jesus.
Where is the list here? Development, regional expansions. Okay. Yeah, so you had World of Warcraft, you had the Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, Legion, Battle of Azeroth, and the latest one was Shadowlands.
Jesus Christ.
That's crazy.
That's a lot.
And honestly, that's not too bad. The first expansion came out 3 years after release. The next one came out the next year. Cataclysm came out 2 years after that. Mists and Pandaria 2 years after that. Draenor 2 years after that. It was consistently like 2 year gaps, which is actually really smart for a game like that. And I know a lot of games are kind of following suit to that kind of
algorithm.
Yeah, because I mean, like Destiny is a great example.
Yeah.
Destiny comes out with now there's seasonal stuff, which I think is stupid, but like their expansions come out, I think every 4 months or so, like that. So like for them, they have like year 1, year 2, which is actually really, really smart. It's just like the seasonal stuff kind of bums me out because, since there's so many games now, like there's no way for you, like if you like Call of Duty, if you like Destiny, if you like Apex, if you like, what's the one that I hate? Fortnite. Like if you like all these games, there's no fucking time for you to be able to get everything every single season. Because I mean, like seasons are only really like 40 days or so, based on whatever game you're playing. So it's like if you want to get everything in one game, you're gonna miss out on all these like 4 other games, which really sucks. Because it's like I get it. I get the seasonal kind of structure, because you want your player base to be there, you want your active users. But I feel like it also alienates super casual gamers because it's like, oh, I want this cool thing. Where'd you get it? And it's like, oh, I got it like 6 seasons ago. And you're like, okay, so I can't get this item anymore. That's kind of the shitty thing. But I digress. It is the market that we're in. People like it. Yeah, but that's why I think like last week I kind of brought up like I just want there to be a game where it just has everything. Everything's attainable because.
I think we talked about it earlier before. We're just like bring back expansions,
Yeah, like full expansions. Like I'm totally fine with that. Because again, like with the expansions, at least you get your player base back, right? And then for further down the line, people who've never played it before, they can be like, "Oh, cool, I like this game. Holy shit, there's expansions. I'm down to get those expansions."
You can, and it brings back to the whole thing where you said it's like that is a cool item. How did you get it? Instead of it being like a seasonal thing, it's like, oh, I got it from this expansion, or I got it from that expansion.
Yep. Which to me, I don't know. I guess it's because I'm not looking at it from a video game business standpoint, which I totally like. I understand that like loot crates and stuff like that is we've talked about it with Tien. It is a phenomenal idea from a business standpoint.
From a business standpoint, yes.
Because you're like, hey, you want this item? Well, get this random loot box and try to get a chance of getting it. Just pay $5 more for these tokens for you to get more. It's very microtransaction-y, and I get it from a business model, but as a player, it fucking sucks. Like, I would much rather have it... Like, even though I really bash on Halo Reach a lot, I would much rather prefer, like, the currency in-game that you accumulate from doing certain things to then unlock stuff. And I think my gripe with... I think it was Halo 4 was, like, you continued to get points, but your points were used for random loot crates. And it's like, that really... It bums me out as a player. Because the chance of getting an item makes it far less interesting for me. Like one of my favorite things playing Gears of War or Halo or even Quake was like beating it on the hardest difficulty because then you got an item that rewarded you for that. Like in Halo 3, if you beat the game on Legendary and had like a certain amount of points, you got the Hayabusa armor, which was awesome. Like that was the coolest thing for like an in-game reward. And I want stuff like that where it's attainable for everybody and you just have to do certain actions. Saw a lizard. Oh, sorry. What are you looking at?
I just saw my bad. Touch it. Go on.
No, but kind of circling back to last week too, when I talked about like with Apex, it's like, all right, if you have like a battle royale stuff, have like a puzzle or something on the map for the player to discover and figure out, for there to be an in-game reward, for people to be like, oh, this is cool, like this is hard, why don't I try this? I think the Batman Arkham, because I'm playing through the Arkham series right now. I think that is a perfect example of what I feel a lot of games should be. It's a full enclosed game with additional content that you can purchase. But in the game itself, there are a million things that you can do. There are the Riddler trophies that they themselves are puzzles throughout the entire game. You have to figure out where they are, what they mean, where they're at, what the location is, all of that. To me, that is exciting for a game. Like FPSs are cool, don't get me wrong. But if the FPS itself has a puzzle within the game, it makes it so much better. Like how many of our viewers really enjoyed playing Super Mario?
Depends on which Super Mario.
Well, okay, yeah, but like that's like the classic go-to, right?
Yeah. No, that's understandable.
And that in itself is a puzzle. It's not a hard puzzle because it's a linear map, but you're trying to figure out what items are where. What do I need to jump to next? That is your problem-solving skills, trying to figure out how to beat the level. I feel like there needs to be way more of that in modern video games.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's not. And I think that's why I'm super excited for Rocksteady's new game. They're coming out with the Suicide Squad versus Justice League. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if you heard about that. They announced it last year, I think. So it's the makers of the Arkham series.
Okay.
It is the Suicide Squad versus Justice League. So I guess like the Justice League either gets controlled by Brainiac or something like that. But you get to play as the Suicide Squad.
I think I may have seen what you're talking about. There was like it shows like I forget the shark's name.
It's King Shark, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang.
Okay, yeah. Then I've seen like the trailer for it because it shows like Superman about to like lay waste into them because it's not necessarily him. Okay,
yeah,
that looks cool. I actually would want to play that.
See, and I'm excited for it because, and honestly, like, oh god, what like Monster Hunter World and stuff like that has been really good. And I feel like those games are also like all inclusive. Yes, there's a lot of DLC, but it's like the game as a whole, like there is essence to the game. And I just want more games like that. Like I'm really worried that Halo Infinite is going to be much broader than we think. Because they said that Halo Infinite is going to be the last Halo game. Like that's what they said. And it sounds like they are going to like make additional content for Halo throughout the years. And I'm worried about that because I feel like Halo is a series where the games had to be all inclusive. Like the story itself meant something to the game as a whole. So I'm kind of worried because Infinite was supposed to come out December when the new Xbox launched, and we're in April and it still hasn't come out. So I'm not sure. Like I know because people were criticizing like the art style and stuff like that, but my worry is that the Halo universe is no longer going to have a conclusion. That it's just going to continue, and there are some stories where you just need to end it. Looking at you, Game of Thrones. Like you just need to end the story. Yeah. It doesn't need to continue. I feel like Halo is very important to a lot of gamers. And I just feel as someone who's loved the series that there needs to be that conclusion for us. Like even with like Halo 3, when Halo 3 ended, I felt like that was a good conclusion to the game. And then there was announced that 343 was going to come out with Halo 4, and I was excited, but I was like, does there need to be? Like, because the way that Halo 3 ended, it was very ambiguous. But in a sense where you felt like it ended in a way that was satisfying. And I feel like that's very hard to top with the same franchise. Like I feel like if you end a story and everyone is like, all right, this was an awesome game, the story's over, and then you can continue it, and there's so many people who criticize 4 and 5. Like there's so many, like even though I've enjoyed the games, there's a lot of people who criticize the storytelling of 4 and 5 and where the timeline is going. I just don't know how it's going to conclude, and I think that worries me because a lot of movies and TV shows that I've been watching lately, I'm not sure if I'm just being hypercritical of it, but I just feel like the endings to these stories aren't satisfying. Like, I know there's a lot of writers who want to try to pull the rug out like right from under you, but I don't necessarily think that's a good storytelling message. Like, I feel like as an audience, you're expecting either a happy ending or a satisfying ending for certain characters. I'm not sure if you saw the end of Game of Thrones.
I didn't care for it.
And if you haven't, I'm going to spoil something for you. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, turn off your ears now. The death of Cersei was super underwhelming to me. There's an argument that there is symbolism because she dies with literally all of Westeros falling on her. The symbolism there is that like this kingdom that she's brought up now comes crashing down on her. As a narrative, as a book, fantastic. That is a fantastic way to kill someone off in a narrative. Cinematically, very dull, very boring, especially for this type of character. We've talked a little bit about, books translating to film and TV and how, as a television writer or a screenwriter, you have to adapt it for the format that you're writing for. As someone who watches a lot of movies and TVs, there is an expectation for like a boss fight, for the final climax of the film. You want there to be not explosive, but you want there to be that, hanging on the edge of your seat type of ending for a character. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of TV shows, they don't have that, which really sucks for an ending. I understand that there's a lot of shows that have an ending because it's either rushed or, they assumed that they're going to have an additional season, so they had to kind of rewrite. But I still feel as a writer, there's an obligation to the audience to bring forward something satisfying for these characters. If there's a conclusion, whether that's like The Sopranos, where it ends super abruptly, like that. I think The Sopranos is a good example of how you can pull the rug out of someone, but still make it make sense to the characters.
Yeah.
For those who haven't seen the Sopranos, I highly recommend it. It is a fantastic show. And honestly, the ending is so... It leaves you wanting more, but you understand that it's okay to end. And that's, to me, like the best thing for a story. So,
yeah,
for our stuff, because I can criticize all I want until I prove myself worthy. For all of our stuff, I actually have written out a vague outline to a lot of the stories that we are currently working on. Because I feel like even though, with our tabletop stuff, it's all improv. Well, not all of it. A lot of it is improv. And you guys go into certain directions. There are still these specific story points that you guys have to hit, like the revelation of certain aspects of this world. Like where you guys are currently at in Cherry, discovering what these characters are, how they function in this world, and then even dealing with the like symbolism of the fish, being around. Like there's a lot of stuff that are placed there, mm-hmm. Specifically because it will recur in the future, which I'm super excited about whenever we get back together. But yeah, man, just stories. That's what we're here for, and that's what we talk about.
Exactly.
But talking about movies and stuff, this Friday, April 24th, the new Mortal Kombat movie is being released in theaters and on HBO Max. To those who are subscribed, and I am so effing exciting. I'm effing excited
Can't control his words,
I
folks.
can't. I'm just so fucking... They actually released the first 7 minutes as a promotional thing online. Yeah, and I watched it this morning, and holy shit, yeah, I'm so excited. One of the things that I thoroughly enjoy in film and television is when they use native language for a character. So this isn't very spoilerish. It's the first 7 minutes of the movie, but there are two characters in the very beginning of the film. One speaks Japanese and one speaks Chinese. One of them also speaks the latter. So like one of them is bilingual, which is really effing cool because both of the actors are both Japanese and Chinese. So I am super, super excited. For those who don't know, I am actually half Chinese, and I get very, very excited when an American-based production company has this type of representation. And let alone it being two of my favorite characters from Mortal Kombat. It's just, I'm so fucking stoked. The choreography is amazing. I've talked about this before about like really bad cuts in movies and television. Like you can tell when they didn't put too much effort in choreographing a fight, or the actor that they had doesn't understand, fighting choreography. And like this, you have these wide shots of the fighting, which I'm super excited about. Like they pan away, like it's a one shot thing where it's like they punch in on the face, they pull out to a wide, and it's all one go of this dude just knocking people down. And it's like, that is super, super exciting. Like I want there to be more productions that are like that. That's one of the things that I really miss about like the 80s and 90s, like action films, like action kung fu films, because they're just so outwardly crazy, but in a sense that every fight feels real. Like I'm not a huge fan of Fast and the Furious, but I do appreciate, God, which one is it? Is it Fast and the Furious 8, where Vin Diesel and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fight?
I think so, yeah.
Like they break out of prison or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that fighting choreography, fucking awesome. But I wish there was more of that in action films. Like I wish there was more of the physical choreography, and making it feel far more interesting than it is. I've been watching a lot of Corridor Digital lately, and they react to a lot of like stunts and CGI and stuff like that. And one of the things that they're always bringing up is like these martial art films that used to be made in the 70s and 80s. The actor themselves were a martial arts. Like they were a martial artist, an actor, a dancer. A lot of them actually acted for theater and stuff like that. And I feel like that's kind of like something that's really missed here in America. Like, back in the day with like Gene Kelly and stuff like that, like Singing in the Rain and all of that, like that kind of golden era of the silver screen. Those actors were tap dancers, they were ballet dancers, they were singers, they were opera singers,
they had
as
a
well
lot
as
of experience under their belt.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to criticize like modern actors or anything. I just wish that there were more actors with those like profound abilities, like that were extremely multi-talented. One of my favorite actors and one of my favorite improv artists is oh God, what's his name? He's from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Which one?
Oh my God. Not Ryan, not Colin. Wayne Brady.
Oh,
Wayne Brady is like,
God.
He is an all-star. He is a producer. He is a singer. He knows how to dance. He knows how to act. I've seen that dude act his butt off. He's been in multiple Broadway productions. He is amazing. And it makes me sad because, even at the pinnacle of his career, there was not a lot of massive exposure for him, which sucks because the dude is phenomenal. And I really wish that the American audiences focused more on those type of talent as opposed to very superficial actors. I think for me, one of my favorite actors because of what he does behind the scenes is actually Tom Cruise.
Okay.
Like, I know a lot of people think Tom Cruise is absolutely insane, and I'll agree with you. He's a psychopath. But the dude knows how to produce movies.
Yeah,
he is phenomenal. He also does his own stunts, which I applaud him for. He's a writer, producer. He, for those who don't know, the newer Mission Impossible films, he's funded with his own company. He has a production company that bought the rights to Mission Impossible, and like that's the reason why he's able to do so much on his own with these movies. And how many people can really say that they did not enjoy a Tom Cruise film? Like, sure, by all means, hate the dude all you want. But as a movie producer, I can't think of many Tom Cruise movies that I don't like. And maybe that's just my bias, but that just proves like if someone behind a project is super passionate and wants to be involved in every step of the way, then there is going to be a very good film being made. But, a lot of films that are made, there's so many different moving parts that people are like not interested in, like maybe the talent is only there, just to hit their scene and then they're out. How many of them are actually there every single day and, talking to the production crew and doing more. I feel like if you're in that creative area and really trying to make something cool, you want to be involved and you want to be a part of every moving piece. And I just wish there was more people like that. I feel like a lot of the movies, the movie industry is a business, that people are always trying to make money. That's the reason why, there's always talks of how the studio is putting their hands on projects because their whole shtick is, how can this make us money? Where's the money going to be coming from? And as an artist, it kind of sucks because, as an artist, you want to create something interesting. You just want your work to be out there.
Yeah.
And, I think Tom Cruise and a lot of independent companies are kind of going with that method of going, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to have a studio. I'm going to build my own studio and produce what we want. And that's kind of the inspiration for our stuff. Like I've always wanted to be a content creator. I've always wanted to create stories for people to enjoy. And there are stories that I just haven't seen that I want to project. That's kind of where the inspiration for all of our Dungeons and Dragons stuff has come from. I've worked on that story for like 3 years before we jumped into the actual plot of, your guys' story. And it's just been so much fun. I always talk about this on the podcast, but the one thing that I got really upset with COVID is that we had to stop that story. Mm-hmm. And it sucks because that is my baby. Like that is my entity. Which is why I'm excited that a lot of us are getting our vaccines and hopefully we can all get back together soon. That way we can continue telling the story. For those who have not yet listened to it, you guys can actually check out Tales of Yoibo's Beginnings. It's actually individual one-shots of the characters from our main campaign. So you guys get to dive into segments of their backstory and kind of understand a little bit more of them before we actually jump back into our main campaign. So you guys can check that out on the website. But yeah, stories are important. That's why I'm super excited for Mortal Kombat. For those who have never played Mortal Kombat, what is wrong with you? Mortal Kombat is like one of the most famous fighting games next to Street Fighter and Tekken. And like the story for Mortal Kombat is absolutely insane. You guys can go on YouTube. There's a couple of great YouTube videos explaining like the timeline of Mortal Kombat and like how interesting the story was. Even back with just the arcade cabinets. Yeah. For those wee little babies who didn't get to play arcade games didn't have a lot of sound back then.
No, they didn't.
There was very little memory in game arcades. So whenever you finished the tournament, if you were fortunate enough to not spend $5 trying to beat the tournament, you got like there were like individual paragraphs of like what happened to each character if you beat the game. And there was very interesting story for every single character.
That's a fat fucking squirrel.
Damn. Sorry guys, there's a squirrel just chilling out on the
big fucker
on the wall, and it is a big squirrel. Holy crap. That was like the size of a cat. Well, we know that he's eating well.
And I know a lot of our viewers, most of our younger viewers will never understand of like somebody putting 2 quarters on the cabinet saying I got next.
Yeah. It's such a weird, like, I think we grew up in such a good time because our generation was like the bridge between, classic arcade dial-up internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we like merged into that like awkward cell phone phase where like there was like a bazillion cell phones. And then like now we're living in the time where like technology is very advanced and so prominent in all of our lives. Like even when I was younger, video games were not cool.
Yeah.
Like in elementary school, I had a Nintendo 64. Video games were not cool. Like, yes, I had my friends who thought it was cool, but like all the other kids who played basketball, soccer,
they thought it was stupid.
Yeah, they were like, this is a stupid video game. Who cares? Like, and I feel like we got the tail end of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because then once middle school hit, then all the jocks started getting into video games and stuff. And I'm not saying that like jocks never got into like video games or whatever.
It was projected different.
Yeah, it was like it wasn't pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until like middle school, beginning of high school where that like the pop culture took over.
Yeah.
Like video games were super popular with everybody. Like I can't tell you how many girls I dated who were like, Pokemon's amazing. Like, it was just a weird shift in the way that people look at geek culture. And it's like now we live in a time where literally everybody's a geek. And like I'm meeting people who are older than me who are now they're comfortable talking about, being a geek and these geeky interests that like they are super into. So it's like it's such a weird time because I feel like the term geek is no longer.
It's evolved over the years.
It's also like it's not as negative as it used to be.
Oh yeah.
Like people used to call people geeks because they were into they were into anime, they were into
Dungeons and Dragons and all this other stuff.
And it's like now it's so effing popular that like geek culture is no longer geek culture. I mean, it's just become pulp culture as a whole, which is nice. It's cool. I'm not gonna live it down. Because now I can go anywhere and someone will be like, "Oh, you have a dragon tattoo? Like, do you play D&D?" It's like, yeah, I'm a forever DM. Rest in peace. But I just think it's an interesting time where like now as adults we can just talk to anybody, and there's always going to be some type of connection there. Whether it's you're talking to a grumpy old biker who used to play Pong, right? You can talk about Pong. You can talk. That's a conversation that you guys can have. Or if, you have a small cousin who's like 12 years old and they're playing Roblox and you're just like, hey, I used to play something like that. It's called Minecraft. It's still super popular, even with your generation. Like, it's so weird that...
I remember when Pong was like the fucking state of the art at the time.
Oh, when it first came out?
Yeah.
I remember talking to my Theo Dennis about it. And it was like, for them, it was like...
Yeah, mind blown.
Well, I because I wasn't around when the NES came out, but I love hearing stories of hearing people playing Duck Hunt for the first time, and having the actual NES gun to use, and it's like that at the time was so mind boggling, and it's like I feel like with every iteration things kind of get crazier and crazier, but it kind of sucks now, because looking at consoles, it's like. Consoles have evolved to the point where they're computers at this point.
Yeah, small computers, yeah.
Like, and I know you can make the argument that, they've always been computers because there's a chip. But it's like the newest iteration, like the newest generation, the PS5 and the Xbox X?
Yeah.
They're just computers.
Yeah.
Like, they're computers with their own operating system. But, I mean, all the games that are on both those consoles, you can run on your PC. And it's such an interesting way to look at the development of games, like how far things have come. Because it's just remember back in like 2004 when there was like console wars?
Oh, fucking Christ.
Like, it was like Xbox for life or PlayStation snub.
Meanwhile, I got the GameCube.
But it's like, and I'm not one for competition, so I never really understood why people were like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, that is also died. It's died down because we've gotten to the point where both those machines, even last generation, both those machines were stupidly similar to the point where they were almost the exact same thing. The only difference was the operating system.
And the branding.
Yeah, and the branding. And essentially, it's exactly what it is right now with the newest generation. So I feel like they're like, and I get it from a business standpoint. Your brand is your brand, and you want to make revenue. But it's like, at this point, there's no point of being like, I'm going to get this console or I'm going to get this console, other than like the exclusives. But then like even the exclusives become available on the PC anyway. Yeah,
after like a couple years or whatnot, which is fine. But I know a lot of people will complain about it at some point. I actually was having this conversation with a friend of mine. He was playing Days Gone, which was a PS4 exclusive at the time. And then just a couple days ago, it's going to come to Steam. So it became a thing. I was like, hey, did you hear about this? And he goes, yeah, I'm happy, but I'm also upset because it's like he wasn't able to do something with it at the time that he needed an extra part for. Like, you want to do something up for using a Gato stream system, I think.
Oh, like he wanted to stream it?
Yes.
Okay.
And so he got all that and everything, and it was good and everything was running fine. But that was maybe a few months, or maybe like no less than a year ago. Okay. And then all of a sudden this pops up. So I can understand the frustration of like, you want to put something into it and then it's just like, hey, we're going to do this. So
yeah. And I mean, like, also like, it's weird because there's so many games. Well, like even with Final Fantasy VII. So Final Fantasy VII was a PlayStation 4 exclusive. The next year, it was placed on the Xbox. So it's like, yeah, you have these exclusive games, but it's like, what if you just wait a year?
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to actually, like, and actually Chris has talked about this too. It's like, there's no reason to buy a game on release. There's no reason to buy a game console on release either, if you're looking for the exclusives, because it's just going to become available later down the line for far cheaper. And on whatever console you're playing on. Chris is very much the person who's like, stop pre-ordering games.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
I completely agree with that too, because it's like, well, I've been shafted enough when I've bought or pre-ordered a game.
Yeah.
Where the game itself wasn't finished. Or the game itself was insanely broken. Where I couldn't, when I bought Assassin's Creed Unity, I love Unity now.
God.
But when Unity first came out on PC, the fucking models were horrible. Like, there's so much clipping with every single character. It crashed nonstop. And I'm like, why? Like, I pre-ordered this game expecting the game to be ready on release. And it kind of sucks because, I'm very much the person who's like, go digital. Digital games are perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. But it's like every game that we get, it's not finished. And then, 6 months down the line, you have to update your game because now there's another patch. I just fucking had a patch Killing Floor, the first one.
When?
Why? Yesterday.
What the fuck? That's weird. That's weird to me.
Killing Floor 1! Yeah, not the second one. The first one.
No. What the fuck? Maybe they finally updated their fucking leveling system because that shit was garbage.
Yeah, I mean, like, we can bitch and moan all this time, but I think that's why me as a consumer now, there's a lot of stuff that I don't buy. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I just wait for, because and I know a lot of people buy stuff immediately because we live in an internet age.
Need it now,
like you need, well, not even just you need it now, but you want to share it now. Especially us as streamers, it's like, oh, what's the next hot game? That way we can get more viewers in and more people interested in. But I feel like there's also a market for people, like for the casual person. Like I feel like that's kind of the market that we've kind of really embraced with our stuff. Is like the casual gamer, the casual board game person, the person who they don't absolutely need the newest thing or care for the newest thing. They kind of just want an interesting thing.
And that's where the whole term filthy casual comes into play too, where it's just like, you're just there to have fun. You're there to vibe. You're not there to just, completely platinum or fucking sweat your hands off. Just like, I need this. It's just like, I'm just here.
Yeah. And honestly, that's why I like your streams. Cause it's like, I'm just enjoying, playing a game.
Yeah, so I think that's why I'm glad I kind of went to Death Stranding, because it's a game where you can just literally just chill out and watch.
It's so pretty. It's such
so
a pretty game.
Fucking pretty. Except when when you have someone try to scare the fuck out of you with notifications, you bastard.
Listen, you just make it too easy. It's too you get too comfortable just chilling.
I do.
And doing your thing.
I'll just go over here and then just boom. I'm just like, fuck.
But yeah, no, I mean, talking about Death Stranding again, guys, if you haven't already, make sure to go follow us on Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/Bluhdhaven. Buddy is going to be streaming for Thursdays with Buddy, and he's going to be playing Death Stranding. It's the Norman Reedus
Hideo Kojima game.
Yeah. I was gonna say leading game.
Oh, leading game.
Yeah. But yeah, it's Hideo Hideo Kojima's first individually published game.
Fucking great.
And it's interesting. It's very Kojima.
Yeah. Oh god, it's very Kojima, especially having characters like fucking Guillermo del Toro for one.
Yeah, no, it's really, really cool. I've really enjoyed watching it. So if you guys are interested in watching it, make sure to watch it on Thursdays, starting at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then on Fridays, I'll be streaming Batman. I'm starting Batman Arkham City this Friday. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to catch me on Friday at 12 p.m. And we'll both be streaming for about 5 hours on both days. But we are coming up on time. So do you have any recommendations for people to watch?
I do. And it is Halt and Catch Fire.
Halt and Catch Fire.
Yeah. If it's basically a show of like, this guy's at his dead end job. This high end guy from California comes in and is like, hey, I want you to reverse engineer an IBM machine with me and we're going to fucking sell it. And he's just like, you do realize that is a felony if they catch their coding in our machines. And he's like, so what? This man was the risk taker. It's just, and they brought in some like tomboyish girl who was like God with her coding skills and everything else. And they did it through Texas Instruments. Out of all things. And it starts like in the late 70s, early 80s kind of thing, and it shows them evolving. Is this
based off a true story, or is it
kind of? But it does bring a lot of things into play. Like they show like when the first Mac ever came out and everything else.
Hell yeah.
And how Texas Instruments was just literally a calculator and everything else thing, and then they started doing computer machines and all this other stuff. And
that sounds cool. All right, yeah. So go watch Halt and Catch Fire. It is on Netflix. It has 4 seasons. Go check that out. And my recommendation is obviously going to be wait until Friday to go watch Mortal Kombat. For the love of God, if you have not seen the trailer yet, go watch it. It is going to be absolutely gruesome. The fatalities are going to be insane. So that's my recommendation for this week. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to go to Bluhdhaven.com for more of our videos. And we see you guys next week for a new episode. See ya.